I wanted readers to feel like they had opened a door into an unknown universe. With these words, Tsutomu Nihei describes his magnum opus, Blame. I wanted to create a world that speaks for itself. This quote from an interview sums up Blame with eerie precision. It's a work of fiction that often defies conventional storytelling. Unresolved plot threads, undefined time skips, and a constant stream of questions hurled at the reader without answers. The city itself is the real star. Kili is merely the eye through which we see it. There are stretches of the manga that span dozens of pages without a single spoken word. All we see is Kili wandering through the seemingly infinite megastructure, searching for something specific. As readers, we're forced to ask questions that no one will answer. We're pushed to look for symbolism. The distinction between the authority and the safeguard lies only in the markings on their foreheads. The level of destruction Kili's gravitational beam emitter causes depends on which button he presses on its back. In an interview, Nihei said, "I never intended to explain everything. I wanted readers to feel like they had opened a door into an unknown universe." Opinions on Blame vary wildly. Some hail it as a peerless masterpiece, something you simply have to understand. It's listed in the personal top 10 of many manga fans. Others dismiss it as mediocre due to its so-called lack of depth. So, why such a divide? Hidetaka Miyazaki, the creator of Dark Souls, Bloodborne, and Elden Ring, once said in an interview that as a child, he loved reading, but wasn't very good at it. He often didn't understand what was happening and had to fill in the gaps with his imagination. That principle shaped the way he tells stories in his games. And Blame works in a similar way. It tells us some things, but far from everything, which means every reader walks away with a different interpretation. Some immerse themselves deeply in its world. Others rush through it. One story, two vastly different experiences. Here's the rough outline. Our protagonist, Kili, is on a quest to find net terminal genes. To do so, he wanders through a colossal, self-expanding megastructure. Besides a few sparse conversations, that's all the information we get. Everything else comes from how we interpret what we see. To understand Blame, one thing in particular stands out: the art style. And to understand that, we need to better understand Tsutomu Nihei himself. Nihei was born in February 1971 in Fukushima, Japan. He originally studied architecture at the Parsons School of Design in New York, a background that heavily influences his artistic style. Massive structures, vast open spaces, and a fascination with dark, industrial, techno-futuristic environments. He draws major inspiration from Western science fiction, especially Blade Runner, Alien, and the biomechanical work of H.R. Geiger. His works blend cyberpunk, biomech, and post-apocalyptic themes in a way that feels distinctly his own. In an interview on the blog Manga Blog, we learn more about Nihei's mindset. He didn't begin drawing manga until his 20s. The reason? He discovered, while working at a construction firm, that he wasn't very good at working in groups. He wanted to pursue something where he could prove himself alone. At the time, the manga industry was booming, so he gave it a try. His Blame pilot, released in 1995, was his first real work, and it showcased a world unlike anything we'd seen before. He then worked as an assistant to Tsutomu Takahashi, before launching the Blame series in 1997. Nihei often mentioned that his architectural background was key in learning how to draw space and structure. He was fully aware that his work lacked dialogue, and that many would find it difficult to understand. But he didn't care. He wanted to create something unconventional. To him, drawing manga wasn't a job. It was a form of self-expression. In the same interview, Nihei revealed that Blame was originally meant to end with the first volume, that is, Chapter 7, which explains why the early part of Blame feels somewhat disconnected from the rest of the narrative. It also contributes to the manga's overall sense of mystery and fragmentation. But Blame was only the beginning of Nihei's career. He went on to create other well-known series like Knights of Sidonia, Aposyms, and Biomega. With Noise, released in 1997, he created a prequel to Blame. He also produced several lesser-known works worth a brief mention. In 2003, Nihei published Wolverine Snicked, a Marvel crossover that dropped Wolverine into the world of Blame. Here, he battles silicon-based life forms in a dystopian future. The story is fairly standard, but the standout is the art, as we see Nihei's bleak world rendered in full color for the first time. The following year, Nihei released Deadheads, a dark sci-fi one-shot. It tells the story of cybernetically enhanced humans struggling to survive in a devastated world. The protagonist is a silent warrior navigating ruins filled with biomechanical enemies. Just like Blame, the focus is less on plot and more on the atmosphere, isolation, violence, and techno-organic decay. Later that year came another one-shot, Bitch's Life, an experimental, wordless journey following a rebellious woman through a dystopian, ultra-modern landscape. The narrative is fragmented and non-linear, dominated by fashion aesthetics, violence, smoke, and machine debris. It's more of a visual manifesto than a traditional story. No matter how you look at it, Blame remains Nihei's defining masterpiece. And as already mentioned, it leaves a lot open to interpretation, naturally leading to all kinds of theories online. Let's talk about some of the most interesting ones. The first theory suggests that Killy's journey is part of a cycle. In the beginning, we see Killy with a child. At the end, he carries a sphere containing an embryo. Some speculate that this mirrors the start, that the journey is meant to repeat itself. Another theory proposes that Susono from Noise and Sanakan are the same person. It suggests Susono was reconstructed after death, becoming one of the first true safeguards created by the Netsphere to combat rogue silicon lifeforms. Her profile was later archived and used as the basis for Sanakan's materialization. Reddit users have also speculated that Nihei eventually lost interest in Blame and left the ending ambiguous just to finish it quicker. But I personally don't believe that theory. I think Blame has a meaningful ending, one that only really clicked for me on my second read-through. In the final pages, it seems like Killy might die, but based on what we've seen earlier, how he often dies, but comes back thanks to his regenerative abilities, I don't think that's the case. In the penultimate chapter, a conversation between Sibo and an entity reveals that the sphere Killy carries contains a human embryo with net terminal genes. It can only grow outside the megastructure. In the final chapter, titled The Edge of the City, Killy's seemingly lifeless body is seen floating out of the megastructure into a body of water. At the same time, the sphere begins to change, suggesting it has finally reached a place where growth is possible. So, in that interpretation, the ending isn't really open. Killy has succeeded in his mission. He's found the net terminal genes. And more importantly, he's escaped the nightmare of the infinite megastructure. But that's just my theory. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to leave a like and subscribe.